With a focus on Guyana in South America, I'm pleased to be joined with Elaine Ellingham. You are the CEO of Omai Gold Mines. Welcome.
Thank you.
Now, before we start jumping into all of your different projects and what your team is doing, I'd really like to focus on Guyana in itself. What brought you there in the first place?
Well, I think, like all businesses, we have to look for exceptional opportunities. And so, Guyana, it's on the north flank of South America. There's a greenstone belt there. So, I mean, if you're looking for gold, you look for places where, there's usually greenstone belts, there's histories of gold mining, a good solid jurisdiction where the government is pro-mining, pro-development. And also there'd been some fairly significant acquisitions of other companies that were active in Guyana with good premiums to market. So it's really emerging very quickly as a destination for exploration and mining.
Very nice, and I appreciate that. And speaking now on your actual property there, your property Omai was the largest gold mine in South America from 1993 to 2005. What put that mine out of production? What caused your team to look back at it and say, wait a second, no, I think we can find more here?
Right. Yeah, well, actually, it produced 3.8 million ounces of gold, over 300,000 ounces a year, which is a very large operation.
Yeah.
A lot of Canadians would remember it because it was run by a Quebec company called Cambior, a very famous company. And so basically, like a lot of mining, they kind of fell into kind of a strange time because as soon as it came into production, the gold price kind of started to sag, and almost the full production of the mine was at a gold price of less than $400 an ounce.
Wow.
They made money despite that, but they also took advantage of the market, acquired a very large project about 200 miles east of Omai in Suriname. Very large project, and Omai had a 20,000 ton per day mill, very huge mill.
Wow.
And they wanted to build the other mine very economically, so they basically relocated the mill. Why that's great for us is because, of course, they didn't completely deplete the resources, and they didn't explore even underneath the existing deposits that they were mining, and they didn't explore elsewhere on the property. So it's kind of sets it up perfectly for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And that sets me up perfectly for my next question. We talked about Omai in itself. Can you give us an overview of the exploration that you've conducted there so far, including what you've done over the last couple of years of really building a resource there?
Right. I don't know if we've built beat a world record, but basically we started 2 years ago, almost 2 years exactly, with our first drilling. And in that time, after the first 9 months of drilling, we published our first 43-101 resource, 1.8 million ounces. And then we drilled last year, and we actually doubled that to 3.6 million ounces.
Fantastic.
So we are working around the past producing deposits, but we've been able to drill below and along strike, and we know it's still open at strike, along strike and at depth. Yeah. And then the other one was a historic resource below the other pit, and so we were able to remodel that data, and we were actually quite delighted at what came out of it, because just remember, this was in production when the gold price was under $400, and we're now at over 1,800. So very, very different what the resource looks like, and it bodes very well for the future.
Absolutely. And speaking of the future, and staying on the topic of exploration, what are the next steps for exploring for your company?
Yeah, so we started drilling for this year in January. So we've got that base of resources behind us. We know that we have the ability to expand that, but there's also really interesting exploration targets that were never pursued. So we have airborne magnetics. We've been doing some trenching and some mapping, and so we've identified a number of very interesting looking targets. You can sort of see there. We're lucky because our deposits have distinctive magnetic signatures, and we see some other similar magnetic signatures across the property. So we want to basically do a dual fold. One, we step out on some of those exploration targets looking for another significant deposit, and then we also expand on our existing resource.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And there obviously is lots to go for here, but I mean, you're already in elephant territory, so it's nice to continue to see what else you have there that maybe they missed from the years past.
Well, they didn't do a lot of exploration outside of the main part of the property, so we know that there's some really interesting targets where there was artisanal mining for gold, so those kind of call out to you. I guess I would also say that, we we do know that applying new geophysics techniques and things like that, which we've been doing, and using the historical database, that we can, there's a lot that we can do that they didn't do 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's one of the things I find the most fascinating about mining recently is that there's so much more technology that obviously we had now that they didn't have 20. Sometimes you look at places 30, 40, 50 years ago, what did they miss?
Right.
Now we can find it. A very important part about a company is knowing about its financial and corporate structure. Do you mind just giving us a brief overview of that for an investor who may be hearing about your story for the first time?
Sure. We're a fairly young company. It was a reverse takeover about 2 years ago. We did a financing in December, so we have about $3.3 million. So, we're well funded for the next drill program that, is the initial 5,000 meters. We have about 17 to 20% are institutional investors. Silvercorp has about 9 or 10%. Sandstorm is in there as well. The Mackenzie funds have beefed up their participation. So I think we're fairly, obviously, I think we're a good blend between retail, sort of high net worth, and institutions.
Yeah, that's great to hear. It's great to hear. I do like to see that blend. I like to see more retail investors getting a part of this, but you also need the institutional backing as well. You do need that blend.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of, both of those investors, if for investors looking forward to the, all the things that are coming down the pipeline over the course of this next, few months, the rest of this year, what can investors expect?
Well, I think obviously we're sitting there with 3.6 million ounces. So our market cap is under $30 million. So in fact, we're trading at about, I think, $8 per ounce of 43-101 resource. So I think, it's a general downturn for junior mining companies. Everybody knows that. So the idea is, you spend your money wisely and build your company's assets the best, in the logical direction. But I think we are looking at a re-rating because people are starting to realize, that, they kind of look and go, there's like a 3.6 million ounce resource there in Guyana, which is a very desirable location. And so I think there's part of that, but our exploration, we believe, will reap success. In a very small area on our property, 2 kilometers by 2 kilometers, there's 7.5 million ounces between what was mined and what we've discovered. So that's just a very small part of the property. So I think the potential for new discoveries is very high.
Yeah, well, exciting to hear, and thank you so much for your time. Taking it away from your booth a little bit at PDAC. It's an exciting time. Thank you so much, Elaine. I appreciate everything.
Yeah, thank you very much.